you encourage them to be a thought leader. So how should they be putting their thoughts out there?
I told you. Today, we want to talk to you about small business, big ideas, how to become an effective thought leader. So you may or may not know Cope used to be an elementary school teacher.
What?
And for
all
of us who have been to school, do you remember when you were in school and the teacher would say, who knows, blah, blah, blah. People would raise their hands, and there'd always be somebody who would raise their hand, wouldn't have the answer, but they'd be strong in what they said and strong in how they expressed it. And they might even get some of the other people in the class to agree with them because of how they presented it, right? And so when it comes to thought leadership and small business, that could be you. You could be that kid waving their hands, getting the attention, and having people following you, whether or not you're right. What do you think about that, Chief?
Wait, you said whether they should be raising their hand even though they're right?
No, even if you're not right, because sometimes people may differ with your opinion and different in opinions or have different experiences, but that doesn't mean that you're any less of a thought leader or that your thoughts matter any less.
Well, first of all, what the fuck is a thought leader? Like, people come up with these terms and be like, this person's a thought leader. Like, because you lead people, you have the most thoughts. That's a thought. Like,
no,
what the fuck is a thought leader?
I didn't look up the definition, but you're
not on your etymology.
I'm on my etymology gig today. But when I think of a thought leader, I think of someone who has ideas that may be similar to or different than what's already out in public, and they share those ideas, and those ideas take off, they are seen as a leader in a certain space or area.
They're like, what's her name? I can't remember now. They're like,
what's she do?
Damn, God, I can't remember this lady's name.
All right, write it down. What you think about
horrible.
it? So yesterday,
they're like Dionne Warwick. They're psychics, right? You're saying, because they put all these things out there and they come to fruition. People are like, oh, you're a thought leader because you guessed that right. So basically, it's just people who are talking about what they think that from their experiences, or they're studying I don't even want to say predictions, but where they see things, whether it's in the immediate future or the distant future. And then if those things kind of pan out, people's like, you're a thought leader because you got you.
Well, it doesn't even have to be in the future. It could be right now. Let me give you 3 examples from yesterday of how I demonstrated my thought leadership. So my first meeting yesterday was at the Bronx Zoo. Shout out to the Wildlife Conservation Society, parent company to the Bronx Zoo, which is one of the best zoos in the world. And so I was there for a meeting with one of the programs. We just completed the Ascend program for the Bronx, which is co-sponsored by JP Morgan Chase. And we met with a bunch of different anchor institutions. So Columbia University, Fordham University, Wildlife Conservation Society, Hebrew Homes, and Montefiore Hospital, Bronx Community College, which is part of CUNY, City University of New York system, and Mercy College. So large anchor institutions that are looking to do more business with local small businesses, and talked about what difference it would make, what impact it would make for our businesses to get more businesses from these big anchor institutions.
Okay.
So as I'm sitting at the breakfast preparing to go to my next meeting, which is with our client, our big blue client, I get an email about a task force that I'm on. So I'm part of Here to Here, a great organization which is trying to empower Bronx youth with job opportunities, which will provide them with sustainable finances and long-term sustainable job prospects. And so Stephanie from Here to Here emails me, said, oh, we have a writer from Cranes who wants to have a call at 11 o'clock with a business owner to talk about this position piece that we had written. So previously, I had co-authored an op-ed, an opinion ed piece on some of the work that Here to Here is doing on braided learning, wherein we recommend that the school system should incorporate more learning, more skills, more training for our high school students on real life skills they would need for jobs, as opposed to waiting until after the students graduate and then making it the burden of the employer to train and provide these skills to the young people. So we want to talk about braided learning. And so I was like, all right, well, Steph, I'm in a meeting. I'm about to get in the car. If the writer doesn't mind talking to me while I'm in the car, I'll take the call. She's like, cool. And again, can she call you at 10:30? I'm like, okay, it's 10:15. Sure. No problem. So I'm rushing out of the Bronx Zoo to go to my meeting with this other client. And I get a call from this writer at Cranes. 15 minutes, hit it and quit it. She's like, oh, I see that you signed on to this letter that Here to Here wrote. I see that you also have this op-ed piece out. Tell me what you think. Why is this important? Why you support it? And so in 15 minutes, I position myself as a thought leader as it comes to braided learning in New York City, especially in the Bronx. And I gave her a compelling reason why, as an employer, it makes sense for us to support that. Fast forward, go to my next stop, which is at a groundbreaking for a new development. And our clients helped to underwrite the project. And so there were some different community groups, other small businesses that are involved in the project. And so Margaret Anadu, shout out to Margaret Chinwe Anadu at Goldman Sachs. She's like the head of sustainability for Goldman Sachs. Yeah. She is, as Congressman Gregory Meeks called her, a diamond. That's no lie. And so Margaret was introducing me to some of her peers, and she's like, oh, this is Jessica. She's the national chair.
Okay.
Now, most people didn't ask for any clarity behind the national chair of what. So
it just was like, you're the national chair.
Right.
So now you're the thought leader, national chair.
Exactly. So just in terms of context, I know Margaret through my experience as part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. And now I serve as the National Leadership Chair for 10,000 Small Business Voices, which is our advocacy platform. And Margaret is one of the thought leaders. She is like
everybody's a thought leader.
One of they're going to say she's the godmother of 1 million Black women, which is Goldman Sachs' initiative to help reduce the wealth gap for Black women in this country. And so to have the godmother of 1 million Black women to say that I'm the leadership chair, the national chair, and people are thinking I'm the national chair. I think they think I'm the national chair of 1 million Black women. Look, I'll just be one Black woman. And if I make 1 million, that'll be better for everybody. But you see how it's relatively easy to be a thought leader. Take the call, show up, answer the call.
Well, you kind of need to know kind of what you're talking about. So okay. I don't want you to just put it out there and just be like, yeah, just take the call or just say any whim wham clickety clack kind of stuff. And then next you know, hey, I'm a thought leader. You'll be a thought leader on bullshit. That's about it. You'll be just talking puffery.
But just for clarity's sake, I do not talk just puffery, because when we're not filming the podcast, when we're not going out checking on our clients and our employees,
talk about what you know.
We are hustling. We are hustling really hard. We hustle a lot. I see the heads in the room nodding because they know we hustle a lot.
Well, let's be clear. The word hustle has been used a lot, and it's become super sexy to be like, oh, I hustle. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just like, you could use it, but let's be clear. Because first of all, when we grew up, hustling meant something totally different than it means now. Because if somebody was a hustler back when we grew up, it means you were partaking in some illegal activities. Let's be absolutely clear. So the term has morphed. Etymology has been used in different contexts.
Hustle used to be a dance.
Well, yeah, it was a dance too. But if you were a hustler back in the day, you were out on the block slinging. Somebody's at Hamlet's in the background here doing the hustle. Actually, I'm sure that audio is going to pop up during this episode. But I think it's overused. Mm-hmm. It's totally used out of context now, especially with this whole quit your job, start your own business, F your boss type culture that's going on. For you, I support you. But people think, oh, I'm hustling. And they use it very loosely. But what are you really doing? Like when you say you're hustling? Like, I'd rather you just tell me like, I'm working hard to achieve this versus people like, yeah, Waleed, I'm working. I'm out here hustling. And I'm guilty. I've said it a few times too. But I'm just like, fuck that. Mm-hmm. I'm working hard on X, or we're working to interact with clients more, or you're going to meetings, you're going to networking events versus, yeah, I'm out here hustling. Like, that's so fucking vague. Like, what does it mean? And I got a comment on a podcast. They said you cannot beep out any bad words I use anymore to the crew. So I'm just putting it out there.
Who said that?
Shout out to my man. Shout out to Scooter. Appreciate your comments.
Hey,
you watching the
Scooter.
podcast. You watching Laundromat Resources. This is shout out to Scooter. I appreciate you, Scooter. And I'm not letting them beat me out. Hopefully. But anyway, back to the topic. Yeah. So the word hustle, I think it's overly used. So,
Right.
And I think it's just used too generically.
Right.
So
I'm going to tell you the 3 things that I do personally that I think position me as a thought leader when it comes to small businesses, especially minority and women-owned small businesses, as well as when it comes to security. Right. So what
are the 3 things? Drop them real fast so I could hurry up and comment on it.
Number 1, add content to your social media platforms. And so if you go to any of my social media platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you will see that I'm posting information about my experiences and about my insights.
Except on Instagram, because you got banned for impersonating yourself. Let's be absolutely clear about
But
that.
I'm back and I'm better.
The question, are you back as yourself or are you back as another Jessica? Because you did get banned.
I am back.
For
I'm just a
impersonating
different Jessica.
Johnson coat.
And so I leverage the social media platforms by posting content, insights, experiences. I repurpose other people's information. And so if you go to my platforms, you'll see small business related information. You'll see security related information. You can do the same. What is your industry? What are you great at? What do you consider yourself a leader at doing? Those are things that you should be including content about on your social media platforms. Number 2, I connect in real life, right? So it's one thing to connect virtually. It's another thing to connect in real life. So I'm going to conferences, I'm going to meetings, I'm meeting people in real life. When I get the chance, I give them a business card, I shake their hand, I smile, say hello.
You bring hand sanitizer with you when you're shaking hands?
I wash, soap. And so when people see me, now they have a face that they can attach to the social media platforms. And then lastly, I write. So I submit op-ed pieces. I write different what? Why are you shaking your head?
It's like a Renaissance woman over here. Like,
no, I mean, it's relatively easy to write an op-ed. You just got to shop it after you write it. But
it's just your opinion on something.
Right. Exactly.
Which is why it's an op-ed.
Right. But
I got a lot of opinions about stuff. So if anybody needs some op-eds and you want to I'll give it to you in audio format, you want to write, hit me up.
But
I got a lot of opinions, especially about business.
With Haru, there are always writers that are looking for content. So if you're a subject matter expert, a thought leader, whatever your experience or expertise is, connect with a writer that needs content. And if you don't write the piece yourself, you give them the content to write. That's how you can establish yourself as a thought leader. At least that's how I've done it, and what I'll continue to do. What's it? You laughing at me, Espinosa?
I'm listening to you talking about, first of all, Espinosa's having a coughing attack in the background. Hold up. Let me be safe.
Are you alive?
For the rest of this episode.
Okay.
He's coughing okay, you can finish coughing. I'm good now. So, yes, this episode just went COVID protection. Yeah, I'm just listening to what you're saying about, writing and putting it out there. And basically you're sharing your thoughts and opinion on something. But I find it super interesting with the titles and terms we use, thought leader or subject matter expert. And I'm just like, what is the criteria for someone to become the subject matter expert? It's just because somebody says one day or a couple of people like, that person they know a lot about that. They're the subject matter expert. And I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I just think it's very interesting how, titles and labels get thrown out there. But I do believe, especially in business or even you're an entrepreneur, whether you're in business or you're on someone's team or you're an employee, whatever term you want to use, that you share those thoughts and opinions wherever you are and whatever system you're in, whatever platform you're in, wherever you work or wherever you're part of the team, to put that out there so people understand what's going on. Like, and what I think is really interesting, and I say you should share because we've all been in meetings or places, and whoever's running the meeting or whoever's the point or key person, leader or manager, whatever term, whatever position, they'll say like during that meeting or presentation, does anybody have any thoughts or opinions or ideas? And the room is kind of quiet. There might be like one or two people who share something. And then when it's over and people are in the hallways, then all of a sudden,
there's a meeting after the meeting.
Right. There becomes hallway courage. Now people are in the hallway and they're like, yeah, we should do this. Like I was in a meeting. I wanted to say this, but I didn't, because if I would have said that, Janet would have been like, you should be sharing that information, because you never know where it might end up putting you later on. You should put it out there. And if you're in an environment where you share it and they don't value it, then, shame on them. Like I just got out of, a meeting/interview with a prospective team member to join our management team. And they express like where they are now. They share a lot of things, and they're going catchphrases that just doesn't make sense. The things that they do. And I'm like, do you share those ideas and concerns and interests with the team members there? Mm-hmm. And they were like, yeah, I do. But then I'm told that's not part of your position, or you shouldn't be worried about that. But regardless of what somebody tells you, you should still put it out there. And some people, you don't want to share your ideas because you're like, oh, well, somebody's going to steal it, or somebody's going to take credit for it. Yeah, and I get it. There's office politics in different places, and that's what. So what? Just do it and put yourself out there, because you never know what it might turn into you. It's way better to put it out there than just to keep it. What the fuck are you going to do with it anyway if you're just holding on to it? And let's be clear, you're probably not the only person with that idea. Unless you figured out like the cure to cancer or some other like complicated thing, you're probably not the only person with that idea. What it is you will be the person who has the courage to put the idea out there and not worried about if people are going to laugh at me or ridicule me, criticize me, et cetera, and you're willing to take action on it. That's the big, like, there are plenty of things we've done that people are like, oh, that was a smart move. Like picking up and delivering laundry is not fucking rocket science, and it's not the greatest invention since fire. It's just some people won't do it. And I was super guilty of it in the beginning, because I was like, I don't want to deal with logistics. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with that. And then we did it, and I was like, it's really not that freaking hard. It really wasn't as challenging as I thought it would be, because it's about taking action. So if you're just sitting on it, you're going to accomplish way less sitting on it than if you just put it out there.
I think as a emerging small business owner, as an established small business owner, it's so important for us to control our narrative, because there's so many other agencies, organizations, entities that are larger than we are that get the prominent positions to create the narrative. And so if you let somebody else create and control your narrative, you let them create and control your destiny. So as small business owners, I encourage you to take back your narrative, control your narrative, especially if you're underrepresented or undervalued. And many of the chances that I have to get a seat at the table and to represent other small businesses or other small security firms, what I hear is, oh, we never knew that. Nobody ever told us. Oh, I was on a call. I'm on another task force. I was on a call with this one task force on Monday, and it was a bunch of political folks representing large corporations and government agencies. And they said, oh, we're glad to have the voice of small business at the table. So when I go to these task force meetings, I'm not only telling my story, I'm telling the story of Dawn from the Nourish Spot and how she started her business in Jamaica, Queens, and she brought her children into the business after she got let go from Prudential, and she's grown the business and been SBA Small Business of the Year and for the New York district.
And the smoothies are pretty freaking good. I had one yesterday.
Yeah,
for the
mango,
time.
the pineapple
I
mango
had three
tango.
different ones actually,
but the pineapple mango tango was hit, and
that shot of ginger in it.
And that even in the success that she's had, it's a challenge for her to get people to come to work. And so some people might see her success, but don't know the challenges. And I can stand as a surrogate and say, Dawn, just like so many other people is having a challenge in finding people to work for her business. I can talk about, we were on a webcast, 2 weeks ago? for the Hill and talked about Smokey John's barbecue in Dallas and how they can't get enough people, and the price of protein is really putting a strain on their budgets. And now they have
to
be
careful when you say the price of protein. Say the price of meat, because meat is not the only protein here. Let's be absolutely clear about
meat
that.
Meat is not the only protein, but across the board, he's seen an increase in the price of proteins. So whether it's beef, whether it's chicken, whether it's pork, he's seen the prices go up.
Well, he's seen the price go up in vegetables? Nah, because he ain't got no vegetables in the barbecue shop.
Yeah, he got coleslaw.
So you guys say
he got corn.
Okay, that's very little though.
That's still the cost of everything is going up.
He's talking about the prices of meat. So
nonetheless,
meat versus protein. Let's be clear.
Nonetheless,
representing
Brett,
all my vegetarians
one of the
and
owners
vegans out there,
wasn't on the webcast, but I was able to tell his story. So think about it. When you serve as a thought leader, you're not only sharing your thoughts and ideas, you're sharing the thoughts and ideas of other people who are facing similar challenges or have similar successes. So you can be the voice of the underrepresented, the undervalued, and it makes a difference in controlling your narrative and controlling your success. So I encourage you to be a thought leader.
Okay, so you encourage them to be a thought leader.
Mm-hmm.
So how should they be putting their thoughts out there?
I told you, social media, connecting with people in real life. So volunteering.
So should I just randomly just go on social and just start putting out like, oh, I think the local politician should do X, Y, and Z. Should I just randomly start just putting my thoughts out there? Or should they curate them? Should they write them down, explore, like flesh them out, read more about that particular I don't know, this thing or concept that they're interested in, or that they have a lot of thought like I got a lot of thoughts in my head.
You do.
If somebody could hook a HDMI cable up or a Thunderbolt and put it to a screen or projector, they'd be like, good Lord.
So I would say the first step is to write down what you're thinking and then have somebody else read it to see if it makes sense. Because sometimes we get stuck in our head trash and it doesn't always make sense.
And maybe do some research on it. GOOGLE. Like, just don't put out there what's in your, I'm not saying what's in your head is not good, but you should get some other context and content around that particular idea or that thought to see what other people are saying. What's the industry saying? You might not be the only one saying it, which would be to your advantage to link up and network and connect with other individuals who have a similar thought process as you.
Right.
And also to connect and link up with people who have the opposite thought process as you, so you can understand things from multiple perspectives, because you just don't want to be so narrow-minded. You want to be able, it's like being a manager. If the person who's a manager and never did the role of the people they're managing is at a disadvantage to the person who is the manager and did the role of the people that they're managing. Or they work their way up, or they'd be like, yeah, once I was the wire connector, and now I'm the manager of the wire connectors, because now I can relate to them and say, yeah, I know that same problem. When I go to push this in, I used to hit my thumb. So now you should wear these type of gloves so that'll protect your hand, versus the person who wasn't a wire connector, just became a manager. Like, we need to get more wires connected. We need to meet the quotas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Exactly. So, put yourself in those environments, the same and different. You were saying?
So write, research, put yourself in the environments.
Right. And then do
a good job. Whatever you're doing, do a good job, because your work will speak for itself. Yeah. No.
Yeah. And no. But your work does tell a story about you. And doing a good job is relative. So we have to be careful of that, because there's stuff I'll do and I'll be like, oh, I think it looks okay. And then other people look at it and be like, oh, that looks really good. And somebody else look at it and be like, that looks like shit. And there's stuff I do and I'll be like, this looks like shit. And people be like, wow, I think that looks good. And I'm like, what?
You got to understand the audience though.
And it's tough. And you talk about, small business, and that's a struggle for small business, right? Identifying the voice, the brand, the target audience. And I was, just thinking about it the other day. It's somewhat easier for businesses in different stages who have a lot of cash and have a lot of capital. And it's not because they're smarter than you, because you have a smaller business. It's just they have more resources and they have a larger margin of error. When you have a lot of capital, depending on what type of business, your field you're building or the field you're in, that capital can give you. Listen, the other piece is before I get because I'm getting distracted. The other piece is you got to put yourself in places that make you slightly uncomfortable, because
that's where the growth is.
And it's not even about being uncomfortable. It's just getting exposed to different things. I've been in situations in conversation with business owners who have conversations around hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then I'm around other business owners who have conversations in millions of dollars. And then I'm around other business owners who have conversations in tens of millions of dollars.
And then we have a couple of clients that talk in the B's.
Right. And then in hundreds of millions and then billions. Now, granted, I spend more time in that couple million to the tens of million range with those business owners. And that helps you I can't even explain to you how that will enlighten you and expose you to say, why am I only thinking of my business in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars when I should be thinking of it in millions or tens of millions or hundreds, whatever it is, and what's right for you. Don't go by whatever the industry standard is. What's right for you? Because you could be in an industry where the average business makes, $50 million, but you know what? You're cool with just making 15 because that's where you want, that's the right size of team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, Waleed was talking about big companies having a lot of resources. If you don't have the resources to figure out what that sweet space is for you, go to the SBA, that's the U.S. Small Business Administration. They have what they call SBDCs. That stands for Small Business Development Centers. They can help you in crafting your marketing and understanding your audience and helping you to find the resources. And that's what's going to, that's paid for your tax dollars.
When you have more capital to make those mistakes or to get someone to say, like, I struggle with branding at the Soapbox religiously. But if we raised whatever I see some other business raising, tens and 40, 50 million dollars, whoa. Like, it'd be a totally different story there. First of all, I would just sit down and really think about how do we deploy that money and grow and do certain things. But even if somebody said, listen, I'm buying in for $2 million. That gives you way more room to make a few mistakes and still recover versus if you're like, I got $10,000 here and this $10,000 came from my savings, part of my retirement, or I took a line of credit against my house. Your margin of error is very small there. Right. Somebody reached out to me from, I forget the name of the organization, but basically they reach out to people based off social. Mm-hmm. They saw me on a webinar about the laundry industry and saw some other stuff that we posted about it. And they were like, yeah, we want to speak to you because we have clients who are looking to get into the industry and they want to get feedback from you about these particular things. Because they saw me speak about it and what I said, I guess, resonated with them. Obviously it did. And it made some sense. So I guess they looked at me as some kind of thought leader in that perspective. And then and you get compensated for your time for doing that.
So let us know if you're a thought leader. Come back next week. We hope to have more information to help you grow your business, start a business. And
I'm trying to be a thought leader.
You are the thought leader. You can be the thought leader by yourself. I got to go, though. It's been great seeing you. I'm Jessica Johnson Cope.
I'm Waleed, just trying to be a thought leader here.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.